This is the Galaxy Watch 4, and it's considered to be the smartwatch to buy for Android. So I bought it. It comes with a bunch of different features, but it's the core features that are most interesting to me. This is the 44mm version without LTE. Let's start off with the software. When I first heard this watch supported YouTube Music and Spotify, I was sold. But in reality, the experience is mixed, depending on what app you use. Spotify is the most refined one, with the ability to stream music and play individual songs. Songs can be shuffled or played in order. There's a few minor quirks though, like the lack of search or seek function. Now, these minor issues aren't actually that bad compared to YouTube Music. What's wrong with it? Well, everything. There's no music streaming, so playlists have to be downloaded, and the only way to play the music is by shuffling. That's right, you can't even select what songs you want to play. The only thing I can really do is skip the song or play and pause. Another alternative is to use the Samsung Music Player. The experience is slightly better, but you still have to download the songs onto the watch. And the only way to do that is through your phone. This means music management is a nightmare because you can't even create your own playlists. Basically, what I'm saying is this. If you don't already have Spotify, then don't get this watch for music. One of the key selling points of a smartwatch is notifications. I've been using this watch with my Poco F3, and I'm happy to report that I haven't missed a single notification. And in the settings, I can individually select what notifications show up. As for how they look, here's some examples. Notifications from different apps show up as individual cards. The notifications are also synced, so clearing them from my watch also clears them from my phone, and vice versa. The only downside is that the screen is a bit too small for replying to messages, but luckily there's voice dictation, and it works pretty well. Samsung Pay comes pre-installed and has a shortcut by long pressing the back button. Google Pay is also available and can be found on the Play Store. Both these apps work really well and setup is straightforward. There's also Google Maps when navigating. The watch shows turn-by-turn information, and personally I don't really use it because it's really distracting when I'm driving. Now there's a bunch of fitness tracking features including body composition, workout, and sleep. This data is fun to have, but shouldn't be taken too seriously. The funny thing is, the marketing material talks about all these fitness measurements, but the fine print completely nopes out of that. Now that we're done with apps, let's talk about customizing this watch. Almost every review I've seen talks about the thousands of different watch faces you can download. But what they don't tell you is that it's hard. Like really hard to find the perfect watch face. Trust me, I tried. What ended up happening was I just wasted a bunch of time only to revert back to the stock watch face. What's interesting here is that there's actually a program that allows me to make my own watch face. If I know exactly what I want, I can just design it. This program is called Watch Face Studio, and it's made by Samsung themselves. And the best part about it is that I don't even need to write a single line of code. Everything is drag and drop. It's really a hidden gem because none of the promotional material talks about it and none of the reviewers talk about it either. Just as an example, this is the first watch face I've made, inspired by the Honda dashboard. It looks pretty simple, but what's cool about it is that I can change almost any aspect of this watch face. If I don't like the color, I'll change it. Watch hands, I'll change it. Background, you get the idea. This program starts off as a blank canvas, and then you can add elements as layers. It's very similar to Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, and if you work with those before, it'll feel very intuitive. Here's another example of a watch face that I made, and I'm using this as my daily driver. It's based off of the digital dashboard stock watch face, but there's several small differences. Perhaps the biggest one is that the progress bar actually goes counterclockwise. This means when step counts increase, the thing also rises up. I've been doing a lot of tweaking, and it turns out app shortcuts can also be added. This is huge because one of the major downsides to this watch is the lack of shortcuts. There's only one button that can be reprogrammed, and that's the home key. This is because, like typical Samsung style, every other shortcut is linked to Samsung's own apps. For me, this really sucks, and so I created my own shortcuts. Here I've added a stopwatch and Google Pay. Unfortunately, Google Assistant isn't available for this watch, so I can't create a shortcut for it. Now, you're probably thinking, this is pretty cool. How do I get started? Well, it's complicated. When I first saw Samsung's introduction video, it seemed easy enough. Just download the program, add some components, hit run, and you're off to the races. But it's never that easy. For me, I had an extremely hard time just connecting the watch to my laptop, because that video didn't say anything about debugging mode or downloading Android drivers. What's worse, there's no real instructions. So when I ran into issues, the expectation is to just Google it or use the forums. To give you an idea, this watch face took me about 3 days to complete. I spent the first day just trying to connect the thing to my computer. The next 2 days were a lot more fun, where I experimented with different elements and complications. Anyways, it was a full 3 days of ups and downs, but like they say, it's not about the journey, it's the destination. And I've definitely arrived. This watch face, which I'm currently using, is truly unique, personalized to my taste. Besides software, I want to quickly go through some specs and design. This 44mm version retails for $280 or 370 Canadian, but it's often found on sale. Compared to the 40mm, it's got a bigger battery and a bigger screen. And compared to alternatives, it's one of the cheapest smartwatches with mobile payments. The operating system is Wear OS 3, and for users, it's not that different from Wear OS 2. The key changes are really intended for developers to make app development more streamlined. Maybe in the future, as OS 3 matures, we'll see some more user-centered changes. As for hardware, battery life is pretty good. I'm able to get about 3 days without using the always-on display. When playing offline music, the battery drains about 20% per hour. It charges wirelessly and takes about 2 hours from 0 to 100. The cable is pretty flimsy, and reviews do say that it's easily broken. A replacement is pretty expensive at $30. There's a total of 16 gigs of storage, 8.5 of which is used by the operating system. As for the design, I really like how minimal and slim it is. The watch itself is actually quite delicate, with the body made out of aluminum and the screen made out of glass. There's no physical bezel like the Watch Classic, so the screen is prone to damage. I couldn't find screen replacements for the US, but in Australia, it's 200 Australian. If you're wondering, that's about 140 US dollars, or about half the price of the watch. It's expensive, but luckily there's a bunch of screen protectors and case options. Personally, I've been using the cheapest one I could find, and it's been working out pretty well. One other feature I like is that the buttons are offset. I've previously used the Fossil Hybrid, but the crown would dig into my hand whenever I bent my wrist. With these buttons, that's no longer an issue. Alright, we've covered a lot of things here, so let's summarize. The Galaxy Watch 4 watch face can be personalized thanks to Watch Face Studio. Notifications and mobile payments work consistently even with non-Samsung phones. Design and battery life are both very well done. As for downsides, Google Assistant is not available, and shortcut keys have very limited customizations. YouTube Music is poorly implemented, but hopefully that will change in the future. Materials used are very delicate, and screen repairs are costly. Overall, the Galaxy Watch 4 is a great watch, with most of the features working as expected. Apps that need improvement, like YouTube Music, can be done through software updates. If you currently own a Wear OS 2 watch, I'd hold off on buying this one, because it's really not that different. For me, $280 is expensive, but I got it because I needed offline music. Jogging without carrying my phone around is really a game changer for me. Alright, that's it. Like and subscribe.